How is it going, folks? Welcome back to Guernsey, welcome back to a transfer special, and welcome back to a quick season recap for the season that was disappointing. Let's be honest, it's the first time in my history as Guernsey manager we haven't improved on our previous season's performance. Now, of course, last year we finished 6th in the Premier League. That was always going to be a tall order, particularly with European football, particularly with a media prediction of 18th. To be honest, with our squad, with the fact we had European football this year, our final league position isn't actually that bad. Now, if you're surprised to see me back for a transfer special so soon, maybe you missed yesterday. We were winning against Manchester United 2-0 in the Europa League quarter-final after the first leg. We lost the second leg 3-0. And since then, I have played just the 5 remaining games off camera. A draw against Everton, a win against Middlesbrough, a defeat against Man City, win against Bournemouth, and then we did unfortunately succumb to a defeat on the final day of the season for a second year in a row we couldn't beat Newcastle United. And with those final 5 games, we have ultimately ended up finishing 9th place. But we did finish ahead of Manchester United, who didn't, I don't think, did they win the Europa League? Have they won the Europa League? Turns out the Europa League hasn't happened yet. We'll find out if they win it later. But nevertheless, of course, having won the Carabao Cup, having tasted Carabao energy drink, we already had European football guaranteed. The league, we were never really in it to win it. Unfortunately, 9th is the best we could do, which, to be honest, I still think is quite good. I know I showed this just last episode, but just as a reminder, we have the lowest wage spend in the league, and in fact, the top 10 teams in terms of wage spend all spend at least double the amount of money we do on players, so we are still a very small fish in a rather large pond. But to kick things off today, before we go transfer mad, a little bit of end of season news action, and of course, there is a trophy here. Just a reminder, we won the Carabao Cup. First bit of proper silverware. Successful season. No one can convince me otherwise. In terms of transfers we made this year, I mean, none of them got above a 7.0 average rating, which doesn't exactly bode particularly well. Manny Wilford joined us in on loan. Very, very excited about this guy joining us permanently for £7 million. And according to the media, and I say according to the media, it's here as well, he is now in the England squad as one of their 3 goalkeepers for the upcoming European Championship, so I consider that a win. Our signing of the season apparently is Diallo, who just made me very angry throughout this season. This man doesn't score goals, he hits the woodwork. Of course, Alunga joined us last summer for a club record fee. For the 20-year-old, we signed him for £30 million. Didn't exactly have a first season to remember. We played him at centre attacking mid, we played him at centre defensive mid. He's a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none at the moment. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's playing for the Belgium national team. I still think he's going to come good. And even if he doesn't, he's now valued at 67 to 91 million pounds. So at the very least, we're going to make money off him. Of course, we also picked up the likes of Rojas, Bujak, Kovacic this year, Flegard as well. Very good depth play. He played a little bit in the first team as the season went on. Wanted to give him first team football to help with his development. And of course, the final of the signings we made, Cadman, signed for £15 million, showing some absolutely insane development. I am so excited about this man. I think he's going to be very, very good. I'm going to say it now, £16 million. Well spent. Of course, we had a lot of European football this year. That stretched the squad thinner than it has ever been stretched before. We made it through the group stage with flying colours, and then we bottled it in the quarterfinals. From a financial point of view, of course, European football was always going to be good. Bit of a shame it was only the Europa League. Of course, we've got the Conference League to look forward to next year, so some fun away days await. In terms of shirt sales, Lemos was the top shirt seller. He is still trying to force a move away from the club. I don't want to sell him, but, and it is a rather big but, he's only got 2 years left on his current contract, and he doesn't want to sign a new deal at the moment, so I might actually have to sell him this episode, or maybe this summer. I really don't want to sell him, though, because he will be homegrown at club this summer. At the end of June, he will have been here for 3 years. With that, he gets that lovely homegrown symbol next to his name, which is very useful when you have homegrown players that are very good like he is. Perhaps interesting to note, our overall best 11 for the season doesn't have Lemos in the starting 11. Vucevic, JV, has managed to just sneak in at centre attacking mid, and to be fair, deservedly so. This man has done very well. 7 goals, 9 assists in the league, only 16 starts to get those returns as well. Very impressive by him. 7.17 average rating. Joined us, of course, last January, continuing to show great development. I feel like I've got to find a way to get him into the starting 11 this coming year. Fans Pro of the season, Tejera. I feel like Tejera's just winning it every single season. Is it because he's a heading set-piece merchant? Potentially. Don't let that ruin the narrative, though. Young player of the season went to Gaspar Diallo, signing of the season. You can see here, Big Knot, 20 goals to his name, was our top goal scorer. JV, 15 assists in all competitions, a really, really impressive return. One thing I did forget to mention last episode was the fact that Buyak won the Next Gen award. We have had the Next Gen winner the last 3 years, which I think is very, very impressive. Really cool to see Buyak picking it up as well. Of course, we signed him for a measly £3 million. Played a lot of football this year. Just don't pay attention to the average rating. Yeah, it's not great. Here is a quick look at the updated Guernsey overall best 11. Pause it, drink it in, enjoy it. Record appearance holder is still Scott Williams. 242 appearances to his name, of course. Had a rather bad injury this year. I say rather bad. Understatement of the year. He was out for 7 months with damaged cruciate ligaments from jumping in training. I don't want to admit it too loudly. Not sure he's going to be here at the end of the summer. So we have got our season expectations for the coming season. Like I already mentioned, Europa League football is on the cards. Apparently, we are expected to reach the latter stages of it. As well as that, we are no longer attempting to avoid relegation. Upcoming aims, become an established Premier League team, work towards becoming a top half team, and then maintain being a top half team in 5 years' time. I hope we make a little bit more progress quicker than that. Despite a disappointing season by my own standards, the board and the supporters are pretty happy with how this season's gone. We've not seen a radical improvement in reputation despite winning the Carabao Cup, but that said, we are going about our business, establishing ourselves as a Premier League team, and of course, we have got that Premier League money to spend. £103 million in the bank, £67 million transfer budget, little bit of wage in excess. Could be a fun summer ahead. Although if it is going to be a fun summer ahead, I would like to trim the fat off this squad a little bit. I'm going to go away and have a rethink. I'm going to come back in a few weeks' time once the transfer window opens. I have already, you might have noticed it here to end the season, been experimenting with a 4-2-3-1. Would it be mental to go to a 4-2-3-1? Something like this, maybe? Maybe I'm losing the plot. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm certain it's going to be an action-packed summer. We're going to get to June 9th. I think it's June, or is it June 8th? It's June something where the transfer window opens. I can confirm it is June 9th, and I know that because I'm counting down the days till Sula joins us. But yes, we are going to go forward to when the transfer window opens. I'm going to have a bit of a tactical think, go into a tactical cocoon and just think away. When I come back, I might have cooked up something mad. Future Jack, good luck, Godspeed, take it away. This makes me feel a little bit better about things. Manchester United did lose to Sevilla in the Europa League final, and with that, they don't get European football. I'm fine. I'm not bitter. Not bitter. Couldn't be me. But yes, you might have spotted it here. We are on the 9th of June. That means transfer stuff is happening. And in terms of that transfer stuff, Habib has joined the club. Not sure what the future of this guy is, but we signed him on a free. And the other player we've picked up is Sulla, who is a left winger. Of course, last season we weren't playing with wingers. That might change this season, though. And that's because I've gone away, I've cooked, and I've come up with this plan. 4-2-3-1 with 2 DMs. It's a formation I used at Arsenal during my beta save to start this year. It's a very, very good system, and I think once you start getting the creative players needed for it, it can work quite well. And well, with our current squad, we've got Cadman. I want to give him game time. I've got Big Knot. I want to give him time. I've got Lemos. I've got Alunga. I've got Vucevic or JV. We've got too many players in the final third, and this might be a way to make them fit in. Now, it is worth saying, when it comes to both Cadman and Big Knot, they can already play in the wider areas, and with the attribute distribution they've got, they are definitely players that are fairly well suited to be inside forwards. Of course, in the case of Big Knot, he's either-footed as well, so no issues with him cutting in on his left foot. Makes the most of his physicals as well, which is quite nice. I suppose the big dilemma really is what to do with the midfield, because Lemos last year played absolutely amazingly as a shadow striker. It's safe to say that this year he didn't play as well, playing more as a striker. So I'd love to get him back into the shadow striker position if we are able to keep him around. You might have spotted it here. He is unhappy. He wants to move to a stronger squad. There is some interest in him. He has got a release clause of £74 million. Given the season he's just had, if someone triggered that, probably would be kind of happy in a weird way. But between Alunga and also Vucevic, and I suppose McKillop to a lesser extent, I have got another dilemma. What do you do with Alunga? Could you play him as the shadow striker with 9 finishing? I'm not entirely sure. Could you play him at defensive midfielder? Maybe as a deep line playmaker? Maybe as that roaming playmaker, which he did feature in at points during this year? That probably is his best role. But then the issue becomes, what do you do with JV? Because JV can't play centre defensive mid. He can't play striker. He could only ever really play on the right-hand side, not really cutting in on his left foot because he's not great with it, or through the middle as a centre attacking mid. And then I had an idea. Now, I'll admit it, I might be losing the plot here, but if we just highlight key attributes for a register, and a register is a role that I used last year in my save in Iceland and really enjoyed, I'll tell you what, he'd be a very, very good register. In fact, it might suit all of his strengths. He's not got the best strength or kind of overall physicality, I think, to play a more aggressive role. His pace and his acceleration aren't terrible, but they're not amazing. He doesn't have the finishing really to be great in the final third, and whilst he does lack a little bit defensively, his overall creativity, 17 passing, 16 flair, 18 vision, combined with his technique, I'm training him as a register already. I want to pretend the decision's not been made. I'm doing it. You can't stop me. It's the future. In many ways, the ideal scenario here is that Lemos gets a bid on him and I just lose him for his release clause, and then the decision's taken out of my hands and we're fine. Either way, with this preliminary lineup, this is kind of what our starting 11 could look like with this system. I am keen to set things up in a way whereby we can interchange between this system here and the kind of free centre-back formation, maybe in games where we're expecting to struggle a little bit more. I think it'd be quite nice to have two formations that are quite radically different that we can alternate between. Not that star ratings are necessarily the best way to gauge overall quality, but when you look at the players we've got selected and the formation we're playing, this does ensure that we get all our best players on the pitch at once, which, I mean, feels like a good thing to do. I talk about this a lot. Most years in Football Manager, I do a video covering how I build my tactics, and often I'll go in, identify the key players, and build around them. When you've been at a club as long as we've been here and maybe got settled into a system, sometimes it's good to take a step back, review the team, look at the squad, and see how you could play to your strengths as if you're coming in fresh. I do think a 4-2-3-1 is probably the way to go, especially because I need at least one new centre-back this year. That has to be the order of the day. Don't get me wrong, we've got plenty of centre-backs. We've got some very, very good players, but ultimately we're lacking a little bit of quality here and now, and that is something that has cost us over the course of this year. I look at players like Warunga, who we brought in for peanuts, £1.8 million. Look at his performances, look at the amount he's played. I do have question marks over him. I love Warunga. I think he's a great player, but when you look at his overall development, you've got to have some question marks there. He is a good backup left wing back, but of course we've already got Adu Giamfi. We've also got Buyak as well, who can play left wing back. So Warunga would only ever be third choice there. And then the question becomes, if I was to go to a back two, is he going to be near the first team? And the answer's probably no. If I did want to cash in on him now, he has got a really, really good value. That said, if I just go to information and eligibility, he is due to be homegrown at club in a year, so not sure I want to lose him here and now. Volashak, I really, really like the look of, although he's a little unhappy at the club right now. Feyenoord came in with a bid of like £30 million. I didn't think that was a good enough offer. I did weigh it up a little bit, but he's at least here for now. Flegard is a really good player, good backup player. My concern really is that I've got too many centre-backs if I do go to a back two. I've probably got to let some players go. Jorge Gutierrez is a player I've been looking to get rid of. No one's bid on him yet, but £17 million would be ideal. And as good as Florentine is as our starting centre-back, I do question at this point, could we do a little bit better? And also, well, could I get some good money for him? He says, as he mouses over a bid that Peterborough United have made. Because that's right, Peterborough have made an offer for Florentine. Florentine has told me he doesn't want to go to Peterborough, but they've offered £34 million. And let me tell you now, that is food for thought. I kind of wanted to try and negotiate it up without being too greedy. Would £50 million be too greedy? I'm going to suggest it. They've come back. I'd be hesitant to sell Florentine right away until I know that I can get someone better in. But ultimately, we signed him for £4 million. I need to strengthen the centre-back area. And rather than sell one of our many prospects and sign two new centre-backs, if I was to sign two new starting centre-backs and sell Florentine, that might make the most sense from a squad building point of view. I would still like to get kind of in the region of £50 million. Let's try 47. They've accepted it. And if I get £47 million for him, I absolutely have to take it. But I know he doesn't want to go to Peterborough, so I'm not going to get my hopes up. In a similar vein, actually, I am in the process of selling Montero. Originally, Sunderland bid £28 million. Didn't want to go to the northeast, so he stayed around. However, I have had a bid more recently from Real Sociedad of £23 million. That is all up front. I am going to take that deal. I like Montero. I don't love Montero. He joined us a few years ago for £1.3 million. He's had 3 years at the club. He's not really developed much. He's got questionable potential. And £22 million for a player who I don't think should be near the first team just feels like quite good money. I've kind of got my preliminary starting lineup selected here. You can see these players outside of the squad right now. All players who I could potentially sell on. There's a lot of centre-backs here. You might have noticed Teixeira is here. Teixeira's been having a little bit of interest in him from Real Sociedad. I think West Ham were looking at him at one point. I know the fans love him, and I do love him too. Am I seriously considering selling him on as well? I do just really feel like when it comes to our team, the defence, particularly the centre-backs, haven't been good enough this year. And as much as I'd like to keep the likes of Teixeira around, if I am going to upgrade the centre-back position, there's a load of young defenders who I think can exceed his kind of current ability longer term. At the moment, we have got a blank spot in the striking department, but I am already looking at a striker who I really like the look of. And that player is a man who I made a bid for as soon as he turned 18 at the end of May. I've had my eye on him for the last few months. Jaime Addons. He plays for LAFC, Mexican under-23 international. Is it just me? Or is he absolutely mad? Maybe I'm hyping him up too soon, but I really like the look of this guy. Has a pretty good goal-scoring record at MLS level. He is only, as I said, 18 years old, and he only just turned 18. He's given me a bit of Carlos Fierro energy. I don't want to say that too loudly. That's an unfair comparison to make. You've never played FM13 and 14 where Carlos Fierro was mad. He was this Mexican striker. You could sign him from Chivas, and Alanis here, it's the same energy. I can feel it emanating from him. So we have had a bid of £9.5 million accepted for him. I have also made a contract offer. There's loads of teams interested in him. I'm a little bit concerned that he might go to one of them if they make a bid. So for that reason, I made a bid before the 9th of June, just to get the ball moving on this one before other teams might come in. But I don't know, when you've got interest from Man City, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, Arsenal, Liverpool, to me that screams he must have some serious potential. So I'm hoping we're going to get this signing done. If I do sign him, I am really going to have to fight the temptation to play him a lot. When you compare him to Cadman, they could be the future, couldn't they? Cadman, Alanis, it sounds like a match made in heaven. Not going to get my hopes up too high on that one yet, just because it's not gone through. We've been hurt before. But with all that talking done, I think that gives you a pretty good overview of where my head's at, formation-wise, team building wise. We need to cash in on some players. Montero is obviously on his way out. Machete is another player who, if the right offer came in, I probably would look to sell him. I just don't think he's going to be good enough. He's kind of hit his current ability at this point, I'm afraid to say. Gutierrez, we talked about as a player that I might look to move on. And even in the under-21s, there's a couple of players who I have got half an eye on. I have already offered out Akeke. Going to see if there's any real interest in him. £8 million is what I'm demanding. Just as a reminder, we signed him for 800k last year from Bournemouth. So if we could sell him for 10 times that would be nice. And another man I might look to move on is Samir here. He's done ruining the car. Now he's ruining my plans because I don't really see a way he gets near the first team. He could be a really good defensive midfielder, it has to be said, but I already have a lot of those. Has a value between 21 and 29 million pounds. I think it'd be foolish not to explore the opportunities to move him on. We've not yet hit that date where the season ticks over, reputations update a little bit, teams look to move on players. Going to see what we can get for our players right now. Before we go wild signing players, I do probably need to move some players on. And I really need to know, is Florentine going to go to Peterborough? Like, there's a temptation to criticise his conduct and try and make him really angry and unhappy, so he wants to leave. But that would be a risk, because if he doesn't go, he's probably going to be my starting centre-back this year in a back two or in a back three. When I say back two, I mean two centre-backs. It's a back four. We're not just playing two centre-backs on their own. That would be mental. Anyway, we've got a few bits that we're waiting on. Will Montero move on? Will Alanis sign for us? Will we get any bids for the players we've been offering out? Let's go find out. Okay, some really good news. Akeke has had an offer made for him of exactly what I was asking for. I thought maybe I was being a bit cheeky asking for 8 million, but it's easier to ask for too much than lower your demands, and immediately Salzburg have bid 8 million. So, yeah, buy Akeke. Thanks for a lovely year at the club. I say at the club. He was at loan on Motherwell for the year, but yeah, lovely year he had with us. Apparently Machete has a value between 33 and 36 million pounds. Don't know if that's true or not, because the highest bid I've had when I've offered him out is 6.75 billion. I mean, truth be told, 33 million might be a bit ambitious. If we could get closer to 20, I'd be happy. I'll offer him out for 22.5. That's a bargain. That's 33% off his value. More importantly, though, and more excitedly than, well, Machete not getting offers, Alanis is moved to the Lade due to a work permit. So that means he is on the verge of joining us. That makes me a bit excited. So I have made a bit of a review of my centre-backs, and I think I'm going to try and get a bid for Hag in this year if we can. He is going to be turning 20 this summer. Of all the centre-backs we have, he's just the furthest down the pecking order. He's a player who I think is fine, but ultimately with some question marks over his potential, given the fact he's about to turn 20, he just kind of makes the most sense to cash in on. When I look at our long list of centre-backs, we've got players like Pollard who are homegrown at club. Flegard, I think, has a bit more potential and is a tiny bit younger. Gutierrez, I am already looking to move on, so we won't talk about Gutierrez. But yeah, just across the board, of all the centre-backs we have, Sven Hag is just the most replaceable. I have already offered him out for 30 million. We didn't get any bids near that. Realistically, if I get a bid of in the region of 17 to 20 million pounds, I'd be happy. Elsewhere, something that makes me more than happy, Jaime Alanis is joining the club. 9.5 million. Don't think I mentioned the fee earlier. It's not a small amount of money. It's not chump change by any means, but given where we are, given the quality he possesses, given the fact that I think he can just step in and play a role in the first team, I think he could be a really, really good signing for us. Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot more to be said here. Signing £26,000 a week, 5-year deal with an optional 3-year extension, relegation release clause of 10 million, potential to be a Premier League player. Get him in the first team. Going to train him to play as an advanced forward. I think I'm going to put a focus on his ball control just to help out with his dribbling and also his first touch. But I think this man has the potential to be a really, really good player. Good enough to start for us? Maybe a little bit more of a question mark over that. But of course, with the likes of Gaspar and Diallo also in the squad, two players who can play in the wider areas if need be, we're not short of options in the final third for depth. I think if the season was to start tomorrow, I probably would start with Gaspar up front. There would be a temptation given the fact he is left-footed and could play out on the right-hand side to play him as an inside forward where Bignot is and then play Bignot through the middle. I mean, Bignot was the top goal scorer for us this year. Maybe that's the play? I say that. 9 goals this year in 31 games. He got 20 last year in the Premier League. He's proven he can do it at this level, Bignot. I'm just not sure if he should be the lone striker. He's got quality, it's just a lot of pressure on him. Maybe Gaspar would play as the lone striker. I think that probably would be the way to go. Still waiting for any news from Peterborough on Florentine. I have offered him out to other clubs for 47 million. Unsurprisingly, no one else on planet Earth wants to pay that kind of money for him. I have also started the search for a centre-back. There's 2 players who have jumped out at me. The first is Lautaro Rios. This guy is an Argentine centre-back. Looks really, really good. Really good physicals, really good mentals. Might lack the ability to adapt, but of course we have got, we've already got one Argentine defender in Rojas, who I am currently training to play right back, because last year he learned to play wing back, who could be his partner in crime to help him settle. So Rios is tempting, especially for only £6 million. The kind of player who, if Florentine left, I probably would look to bring in. What he lacks defensively, I think he more than makes up for with his ability on the ball. You know what? I'm just gonna make a bid now. £6 million. It would be a bargain. The other centre-back I have been looking at is Alessandro Coppo. Now, I had my eye on this guy for a few years. We looked at him a few seasons ago. He is very, very good. He's 19 years old. If we compare him with Florentine, he's already debatably better than Florentine. He's 19. The only minor issue, injury prone, might not be adaptable. But there is a lot to like. I'm kind of curious how much we might have to pay for him. Estimated cost between 25 and 37 million. That would be affordable. It's the kind of signing where if Florentine leaves, I'm happy to spend that money. And knowing there is some other teams interested, Bayern Munich being the team interested, maybe it'd be sensible just to table an offer, give them something in front of them, Palmer, and get the ball moving. And worst case, if Florentine doesn't move on, we cancel the deal with Coppo. Love this. Apparently my interest in Lautaro Rios has leaked, and Barcelona and Newcastle are interested. I think we've got to make moves quickly here. There's some quite appealing teams that want him. I think for £6 million he would be a bargain. He might want over £50,000 a week, which would make him one of the top earners at the club. Is he good enough to be a starting centre-back now? When you compare him to Tejera, I'll admit he's a different mould of centre-back, but he is definitely an improvement on Teixeira, and his overall ability on the ball, especially with the way I'd like to see us transition into playing, passing it out through the back, really using the creativity from deep. He probably is worth just giving the money that he wants to. He wants to be an important player. He wants a player to help him settle. He wants a release clause. That is not happening. Top half finish, we can do that. English course, yeah, that's fine. Big pay rise, I'll give you that. Okay, he's accepted it. That's step one done. And he has now come to me and immediately locked in a minimum release clause. Pain. I don't want to offer him too much here, because if I give him a big kind of salary off the rip, if I want to renegotiate his contract down the line to remove the release clause, I'm going to have issues doing it. I've already upped the release clause to the £55 million mark, which is the highest that I can ask his agent to accept. We'll give his agent a bit more money. Money isn't exactly tight right now, especially for a player we'd be signing for $6 million. Gonna make that bid. If he doesn't accept that, I'll be upset because we've missed out on a really good player, but the release clause, immediately release clause, I mean, you've watched enough transfer specials to know, if I see a release clause, the interest just drops a level. He does look really, really good though. Okay, Parma have negotiated with us for Coppo. They want 33.5 million plus an extra 5 million. Let's just try removing that. How about 32.5? I feel like there's an agreement to be made here. This is the kind of agreement that I would never be doing unless Florentine leaves. If Florentine leaves, Coppo comes in. It's just a straight swap with a player who's 19, is already absolutely mad. Apparently, he's got question marks over joining us. I mean, not entirely surprising. We're not as sexy as Bayern, but Bayern haven't made a bid yet. He wants me to bring in a player to help him settle. He wants a big pay rise. He is currently on £26,000 a week. He wants to play as a central defender on central defender. I want you to be playing a ball-playing role, I think, mate. I say that. Would you want him to be playing a ball-playing role? I think he'd be up to the task. He's not completely awful when it comes to his passing vision and first touch. Let's remove the role. I'll teach you English. We're not strengthening the goalkeeping position. In Manny Wilford, we trust. And apparently Coppo trusts me. He wants £95,000 a week. £95,000. Our current highest earner is on £70,000 and is Big Knot, who is already debatably overpaid for his role within the squad. In terms of the global footballing market, he's probably a tiny bit underpaid, especially for an English player playing in the Premier League. Don't let him know that, though, or any of the other players at the club, because right now we are still working on a pretty shoestring budget. Imagine having the audacity to describe £111 million in the bank as a shoestring budget. That's what Premier League football is like. Okay, Coppo wants 95k. I can't give him that much. He also wants a release clause, although it is a very, very high one. I'll offer him 80,000. He's accepted that. This is the kind of situation where there's a pretty good chance Bayern Munich just come in and snipe him away from us before I make a move, but at least we've got the ball rolling on it. There is a temptation, to be honest, even if the Florentine deal was to collapse, just to sign Coppo anyway. Of course, the idea was that we keep Florentine around or maybe move him on and then bring in 2 new centre-backs. Would Florentine and Coppo work as a centre-back duo? To be honest, the more I think about it, the more I think it'd actually be quite good. I realise I've been so fixated on centre-backs, I haven't checked in a week or two, at least since I hit start recording, the actual kind of transfer listed market. Are there any exciting players transfer listed that I should be jumping out of my chair for and trying to sign? Just reminded by Matt Carroll here, one thing I haven't mentioned, Bournemouth have been relegated in this save game. Of course, Bournemouth, a team we were regularly getting in European football just a few years ago, they've gone down alongside Villa. Yeah, that's right. Villa got promoted, finished 8th, qualified for Europe, then got relegated. I have already had a little bit of a look at their team. There wasn't a load of super exciting players I was desperate to sign, at least with Aston Villa. And when it comes to Bournemouth's team, there's some good players here who'd be very, very good to sign. The issue is they don't have release clauses because Bournemouth didn't think they were going to get relegated. So there's good players here. They're just not available for good prices. I say that. Guilherme Savano here is valued at 46 million. There's no way I can sign this guy, is there? I'm going to make a bid of what they want for him. 46 million. I could afford it, technically. Silvano in, Florentine out. That sounds like a good deal to me. There's no way he's going to want to join me anyway. This is the kind of man who thinks he's Bertie Big Balls. I knew it. Bertie Big Balls over here. No interest in joining. More interested in PSG. Wonder why. Shout out to Henry Rojas, by the way. He's just earned us another £475,000 by playing for Costa Rica. Still can't believe we got £10 million for this man. He is dog do. So I did transfer list hag just to see if we could get some bids on him. We've actually had back-to-back bids on separate days. Some of these worth £20 million, although that is including clauses. But I am absolutely going to take that money. I'm just having to look through these now to find out which is the deal that gives us the best money without me relying on some mental clauses. I think the best bid is this one from Clermont. It's 9.75 million up front, 9.25 in two separate instalments over two separate 12-month periods. But that's still like £20 million. Also, some money if he plays for the national team, which he probably will playing for Norway. Percentage of profit if he does end up being good, and £6,000 wage contribution. Yeah, I'm going to accept that one. I will just check the others, but no one else, I think, bid anything close to as good as that. He did tell me he'd be unsettled if he wasn't allowed to talk to Clermont, so hopefully he's okay with me rejecting those other offers. But for a man who realistically is like our 7th choice centre-back, that is some mad money to receive. We could have Akeke and Hag leaving us for a combined, almost £30 million. Montero also leaving for £23 million. This is the first year where there are fringe players who haven't maybe developed as much as I wanted, or maybe players I brought in with the intention of selling on, that I am actually able to cash in on. It is going to bolster our transfer budget quite a bit. Have also had some bids for Machete here. This one from Feyenoord might be the bid I accept. £15 million up front. 4.6 million over 24 months in 2 instalments. If he plays 20 games for South Africa, which you'd expect he would, it's another 2.2 million, and there's a percentage of profit sell on. I mean, I love Machete. He's been here for a long time. Obviously, he was with us in the Championship, but his days in the first team are numbered, and I do not think he is good enough to justify that kind of bid from Feyenoord. So I'm going to accept it. We'll issue an ultimatum to PAOK. Hopefully that deal goes through. I feel like I'm at a car boot sale now. You know, I want to see a yard sale for the American viewers out there. And a car boot's universal. Do people have that? You know, where you put a load of stuff in the back of your car, then you park up in a car park, open it, and loads of people turn up to sell stuff and buy stuff. I don't know. It's like a communal yard sale. That's how I'll describe it, but you sell stuff from your car boot, the back of your car. Don't know why I'm explaining this in a video, but that's how I feel right now. I'm just getting rid of all the stuff that I don't really want. Potential transfer income if all these sales go through, by the way. £103 million. Oh my word, we are in the big time. And deal 1, done. Montero leaving us £23 million. I have to accept that. He's not a amazing player. He's good. I don't know if he would have got anywhere near our first team this year. Didn't really develop as much as we hoped for. Was a squad player. Did his job. Now we get a load of money for him. I hope Clermont weren't watching this game. Hag, playing for Norway, just lost 3-0 to Belgium in a game which Alunga played in and didn't do anything. But don't let that ruin the narrative. Alunga, great player. Hag, tragic. Has just dawned on me, we have to play in the Europa Conference League qualifying rounds. That's just popped up on my calendar as a thing to look forward to. I'm not looking forward to it. We enter at the League Path 3rd qualifying round. How many qualifying rounds are there? Oh my god, we have to go through 2 qualifying rounds. That's going to be a fun start to the season. Has just dawned on me. Probably should arrange some friendlies in anticipation for that, whenever those games are. Thing is, I'm going to schedule some friendlies here and then have to move them around when I find out when this game is. 7th of August. Oh, okay. We've got a little bit longer than I thought. Colour me shocked. Fullentin has rejected a contract offer from Peterborough United. That is £47 million we won't be getting. Do I want to try and offer him out and get close to that? If I offer him out, it's going to potentially make him unhappy, although he is interested in talking to clubs. There are some big teams interested. Let's offer him out for £45 million. To be honest, I'm flabbergasted that Peterborough offered 47. If we could get close to that, it'd be quite nice. Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion Fullentin's going to be sticking around. I say that like it's a bad thing. I mean, £47 million would have been great. I do think of all the centre-back options we have, he is actually good enough to start. Does make me question, do I need both Coppo and Rios? And if I don't need both, who do you go for? Rios is available for a fraction of the price. Oh, I don't know what I would do. I kind of hope one of them turns me down so my decision's made for me. West Ham United have made a bid for Gutierrez. Apparently Gutierrez has no interest in talking to them. Gutierrez, I know you're unsettled here. Just go to West Ham. Go to West Ham. I don't want you here. He's willing to talk to them, but he's going to make a decision based on that. That does not bode well. I will say West Ham have only bid £9 million. He's valued at 17 to 18, but he's unhappy. We brought him in for £2 million. Was not good this year when we played him at right back. When I played him at centre mid, it wasn't good there either. I don't want to get too greedy here and mess up this offer, but if they could offer 12.5, I'd accept it. Thank you, West Ham. You've done me a favour. Elsewhere, Akeke's had a work permit granted for his move to Salzburg. He's going to leave for £8 million. Was a player who was never going to get in the first team, brought in with the intention of selling him on, and we've made 10 times more than what we bought him for 12 months ago. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's a good bit of business. I mean, it is, not just as far as I'm concerned, it is a good bit of business. No one can convince me otherwise. I will say now, no interest in Lemos yet. I'm kind of anticipating someone to bid with like a week left of pre-season just to mess with me. If Gutierrez leaves the club, we are only going to have Rojas and Ryan Hunter who can play right wing back, but I might have found a man to solve that problem. Max Aarons is still playing football. He's 36 years old. He's been vibing in Ligue 1 for many, many years, but with 17 determination, professional personality, if his wage demands aren't too unreasonable and I can pick him up, I would not mind signing him just to be a bit of a depth player, but also the kind of player who we can use for tutoring, because I think he could be a pretty valuable player to have. I mean, right now, the oldest player in the first team is 26, so why not just add 10 years onto that and sign Max Aarons? Leon have accepted a bid of £4 million. I don't like the fact he wants a load of money wage-wise, and also he wants to be a regular starter. How about squad player, mate? You're 36 years old. You can't play every day. I'll give him a 2-year contract and I'll add a relegation release clause of nothing, because realistically, he's not going to be playing much for us, and if we were to get relegated, I would want to give him away. He wants £59,000. Oh, it's so much. I'll give you 50,000. 50,000 to be like just an old person in the dressing room. To me, it seems like genius. I mean, no disrespect to Ryan Hunter. I know Ryan Hunter's a bit quicker. I might be tempted to have Max Aarons on the bench over him, especially because Aarons can play right back and left back. I am noticing this season there's a lot more higher value players showing up in my player search screen. We definitely are increasing in reputation. There probably are some improvements that we can make to the team when I decide we should be spending money, which, to be honest, I probably should be making that decision now. Our scouts absolutely love Koppo, and Koppo we're waiting on a work permit for. I mean, that is really good news, the fact that Bayern Munich never came in for him. £34 million for Koppo? I think I'd have to buy him. I think he is better than the other option, even if he is a lot more money. If I picked up Rios as well, would I be shooting myself in the foot? Or would, between Rios, Koppo and Florentine, I'd be developing a really good kind of free centre-back setup in the making for when we do want to go back to a back three. If I do make that transfer, though, I probably have to sell Teixeira. I don't want to sell Teixeira, but I probably should be. Hagen Gutierrez, I've demoted to the reserves just so I can look at the team here with the players who aren't on their way out. Obviously, the likes of Hunter, Buyak, Alexander, they are not real centre-back options, but Florentine, Volashak, Teixeira, Ruanga, Pollard, Flegard. If I had 2 more centre-backs to that list, I have 8 centre-backs. It is too many. I don't want to get rid of Ruanga. Leon Pollard's homegrown. Flegard, I think, has a load of potential. I mean, logically, you might be thinking, just loan one of them out, but I don't want to loan out these players because then it interrupts their, days trained at the club for getting homegrown at club. But then again, I do only need to have 4 homegrown at club players. Right now we have 3, although Lemos is about to get it at the end of this month. And then next year, we are going to have a surge of new players getting homegrown at club as well. Oh, maybe I do just loan out Flegard. That probably makes the most sense. He's good enough as well to get regular first-team football somewhere. If I can get someone who is willing to cover all of his wages and make him an important first-team player, that would be the dream. Have just made an idiot move. I offered to loan him out, got a load of interest. I forgot that under transfer, I had him available to loan, but I already had it set to reject all loan offers. So I will update that, and apologies to anyone who made a bid that automatically got rejected. Please make your bid again. Good news, they have all made their bids again. Union Berlin want him regular starter. Augsburg, squad player. Laurent, regular starter. Is there anyone who wants to make him a real star of their team? Doesn't seem like it. I do quite like the idea of loaning him to Celtic. The issue is that Celtic want him to be a squad player. Can he be an important first team No. Regular starter? No. Oh, I really feel like Celtic would be the move, but I don't know if he's going to start there. Miro Yan is one of their current centre-backs. I say Yan, he's Russian. That's almost certainly not how you say it. I mean, Flegard's not as good as he is. I mean, it does seem like they don't have a load of centre-backs, and the centre-backs they have are a little bit on the older side. Would it be a gamble just to loan him to them for 6 months? I have the option to recall him. You might be wondering, why are you going to take the Celtic offer over the other ones? And the real answer is great facilities, Champions League football potentially. I don't think any of the other teams here can offer him any route into European football. Valencia could offer him Europa League football, but I don't want him to spend time adapting to life in Spain. I say that, no idea if him having to learn Spanish makes a difference, but at least in Scotland they speak English. Right, we're going to loan him to Celtic. Might not be the right move, but you know what? We learn by making mistakes or making good decisions. Let's hope it's the latter. I say all of that, and then Hull City have actually made a loan offer that I completely missed. It came in as a separate inbox item. They're in the Championship. They've got really good training facilities, Hull, for whatever reason. He'd be an important player for them. I mean, that might be better than the Celtic move, I'll be honest. I'll accept the Hull one, and I'll accept the Celtic one. He can choose. And elsewhere, Alessandro Coppo, the offer's been accepted. £34 million for him. Minimum release clause of 72 million. I absolutely detest, but he is a phenomenal player, isn't he? He is really, really good. And he's only 19. I feel like I've not stressed that enough. He's 19! Apparently he's looking forward to playing in the Conference League. Maybe he's not as ambitious as I thought he was. I don't know why I'm umming and ahhing about this one so much. It should be such a no-brainer. It's just the injury proneness and the lack of adaptability and the fact he's 19. It scares me slightly. But I don't think you lose money on him. He played 37 games in Serie A this year. He's not had any super major long-term injuries, although he has twisted his knee and ankle on a few occasions, but nothing I'm going to panic about too much, he says as he's panicking. Like, he's not had an injury in the last 12 months. I'm signing him. That's convinced me. Can't all have good news, though. You know, Coppo signed, Gutierrez has turned down West Ham. Other news, Hag is leaving for £19 million. I mean, when you consider we're selling Hag for £19 million, and that's how good he is, maybe signing Coppo for a little less than double that isn't the worst bit of business in the world. In fact, it looks like the steal of a century now, doesn't it? Alessandro Coppo, welcome, my friend. I think I'm in love. Is it wrong to love a 19-year-old centre-back who's never played for you? I don't know. Maybe, but I don't care. He's going to be amazing, I hope. I mean, shall we just end the transfer window there? Like, that team's done. I think this would be the team to start the year. Look at that. Coppo, Florentine, Wilford, Rojas, Jamfi. I'm actually really happy with that team. Hag has officially left the club, £19 million guaranteed. We get an extra £2 million as well if he plays 10 games for Norway, which you would expect him to, given the fact he's getting capped regularly at 19. And with that sale, despite all the money we've spent, we've still got a transfer budget of 64 million. With a few of the wages that we are kind of offering out, the wage budget might need to be slid across a little bit, but still, lots of money in the bank. Okay, the Rios move is delayed due to a work permit. Do I even want to sign Rios at this point? I was going to make a pun about this guy's name, but then I figured I'd be an idiot if I did that. I don't know. He popped up in a news inbox item. Liverpool have bid £55 million for him. I can't afford that. Work permit for Rios granted. It's £6 million. I've told him he's going to be an important player. He would probably be on the bench, unless I play the back three regularly. I mean, we know that the back three works. If I go with the 4-2-3-1 and it doesn't work as an experiment, having Rios would be very nice. He's got that minimum release clause of £55 million, but we're signing him for £6 million. You know what? I'm doing it. I might have spent too much on too many centre-backs now, but who cares? If the season started tomorrow, this could be my starting 11 with the 4-2-3-1. And then if I wanted to play the three at the back, Coppo, Rios, Florentine, just play as a trio. I feel like you could do a lot worse. I never thought I'd see the day where we've spent almost £50 million in the first part of a two-part transfer special, but here we are. That said, the season hasn't yet ticked over. We still have currently £48 million transfer budget. That could still rise if Machete leaves for £15 million. There's probably a few more players I'm keen to move on as well. One of which, of course, is Gutierrez. He's had loads of bids on him when I've just offered him out. AEK have offered £14 million. No one has offered close to that. A few teams have offered kind of loads of conditional clausey stuff. I just want the money up front. I know he wants to go to PSV. He's not going to PSV. You're off to Greece, mate. Hope you like yoghurt. Mentioned earlier, didn't I, that Lemos, he's not had any bids on him yet. Apparently Peterborough are interested. Of all the teams to declare interest, that is the one that intimidates me the least. I mean, as things stand, we've still got £50 million in transfer budget. That could still rise by another £29 million, despite how happy I am with the team, how happy I am with the additions of Coppo, who is an immense centre-back, and also Rios, who I think is going to be really, really good. there is definitely potential to spend more money tomorrow to take this team to a whole nother level. With that in mind, I'd be very interested to know, where would you spend that money? What would you be doing if you were in my situation? Are there any players that I'm yet to cash in on that I should be cashing in on? Especially players not in the first team here. Tejera, I'm still thinking long and hard about. I really am. We'll have Pollard, we'll have Warunga, we'll have Volashak. I feel like they are three very good plan B centre-backs if I wanted to stick with the current back three here. I can't even believe I'm considering selling Tejera. I might be losing the plot. You know what? You can let me know if I'm losing the plot down in the comments. Tomorrow I'll make a decision and probably ignore any advice that's given, because that's what I do, apparently. Guys, I really hope you did enjoy today's transfer special. If you did, please, please, please do leave a like on the video. These videos do take a lot longer to record than regular episodes. There's a lot of editing and time that goes into them. Have a sneaking suspicion we're going to have a fair bit more to do next time out, especially with the money we have to spend. If you did get to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. As always, back tomorrow with more Park to Prem action. Until then, it is me, Jack, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.